Glass is an artistic medium since around 3000 BC. Then, as now, glass is made by melting a mixture of silica sand and lime. Color is then added to the glass with the addition of metallic oxides. Copper, for instance, creates blue and green tones. Manganese creates purples. Reds, yellows, and oranges are created with the addition of silver and gold. We shall notice that the glass is a brilliant orange color. This is due to the extreme temperature of the molten glass. Today's piece will be a mixture of rubies, ambers, and purples, blue, on a white powder background. Jody has just taken her first gather or layer of molten glass, rolled it into chips of colored glass, and then melted that color into the surface. She is now starting the bubble, or inside of the vessel. It is a theory the Egyptians first discovered glass when they noticed the sands beneath their ancient bonfires had become molten. The first glass vessels were created using a technique known as core forming. In this technique, hot glass would be trailed repeatedly over a clay or porcelain floor. Once the glass had cooled, the core would be broken or scraped out. Such painstaking techniques made glass a rare and expensive luxury item, similar in value to gold or precious gems. Jody hath now taken her second gather or layer of molten glass from the date furnace. The date furnace acts as a well, holding a pot of molten glass and remains at a constant temperature of just over 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. The glass cools quickly after gathering, giving the artist less than a minute working time before the glass has to be reheated. Color hath been added to the molten glass by rolling it into chips and powders of colored glass, and then reheating that in the furnace, also maintained at 2000 degrees. This furnace is used to reheat the glass between steps and is only kept on whilst the glass blower is working.
Can you imagine getting burned from that? I think you burn your hand off.
The tool next to be used is the block. The block is made of cherry wood, which is a very dense and hard wood to burn. Its density makes it nigh on burning and is additionally soaked in water. The block is used to shape, smooth, and cool the glass between gathers. After a short pause to let the glass cool, Jody will take her third and final gather. Each gather about doubles the size of the piece.
Here.
Audrey.
Next, the marker, or blower's bench, is used to shape and smooth the glass. It wasn't until the ancient Romans invented free blowing that glass became available to all classes. Free blowing is a fairly straightforward technique that involves gathering molten glass at the end of a hollow tube known as a blowpipe. The glass is then inflated into a bubble.
Is it recording?
She is now using a tool known as the jack. The jack is used to create the jack line. This is where the piece will be removed or separated from the blowpipe.
Got it.
The mortar is used to shape the glass into a cone. This cone will better fit into the mold. Molding is another technique invented by the Romans. Originally, molds were made of wood, clay, or porcelain and were often broken after one use. Jody's mold is made of steel, as is the blowpipe and the marker. The molten glass bubble is inflated into the mold until the sides of the glass touch the sides of the mold. This will create indentations, creating thick and thin sides in the vessel, which will help to form the fluting or contours of the finished piece. During medieval times, Venice, Italy rose to become the glass-making center of the world. In fact, during the Renaissance, glass artistry flourished. It was at this time that all the glass-making houses of Venice, for fear of fire from the great furnaces, were moved to a small group of islands known as Murano. This forced seclusion on Murano created a tight-knit and secretive society of glass artists.
Okay. Over here. What's she trying to show for?
At the end of the 17th century, Venice was still the world's major glass center. Although Venetian styles varied, shapes were similar, and it was often difficult to determine the origin of the work. Gravity is used to lengthen the piece. By swinging the piece, the hot glass stretches.
I'm not even going to say it.
The bottom of the jack is used to flatten and cool the bottom of the piece. This allows the sides to inflate without over-thinning the bottom. Methods have changed little since the 18th century decorative arts to the 19th century scientific glass production. Glassmaking has become a more scientifically based affair. To prepare to punty a piece, a small amount of molten glass is attached to the end of a solid rod, or punty. The punty is then attached to the bottom of the piece, and the piece is then broken away from the blowpipe, creating the open end. A wet file is used to score the jack line. In scoring the jack line, she'll be able to more easily separate the glass from the blowpipe. The chill of the water also helps to give an easy break from the pipe. Here is the open end. The open end is the coolest part of the piece because it was the closest to the blowpipe, and now must be reheated. In the early 1900s, during a time of improved artistic working conditions, many types of ornamental glass was developed, one of which is the Graal technique. This is accomplished by overlaying colors of glass on the surface of the piece, then cutting and etching of a pattern into those colors, and returning the piece to the fire to give the design fluidity before encasing it in clear glass. Many of Jody's signature pieces are inspired by this technique.
See that face right there? Blue one? She's gonna make it look like that.
The tips of the jack are now used to open the end of the base. Centrifugal force is used by spinning the glass rapidly inside the furnace to flare the open end into a plate. At the desired diameter, the piece is then dropped to form the fluted base.
Yeah, I know, it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, they dropped off.
The glass is now a cool 1,000 degrees. Once the piece is removed from the punty, it is then placed into the annealer. The annealer is maintained at 950 degrees and cools down very slowly overnight. This process both tempers the glass and prevents it from cracking. And here we have the bottom and the finished base. If you are interested in purchasing this piece, or if you have any questions, please stay and talk to us. Either myself, Erin Marie, or the artist, Jody Poe.